hands down the best Shakespeare play ever. I have a really love-hate relationship with this play. Shakespeare's most violent play. It's perfect from start to finish. It just didn't do much for me. I'm going to explain. Hey friends, and welcome back to 155 Books. My name is Shannon, and today we're starting something very, very exciting on the channel, because this video will be the start of my new Shakespeare series, where I basically just do a video about Shakespeare. And in this series you can expect anything from videos like this where I rank every single play that I've read so far, books about how beginners can get into Shakespeare. I'm definitely going to do a video on my journey and how I got into Shakespeare. I've got another one coming up soon about Shakespeare retellings, so really it's just going to be an amalgamation of things all to do with Shakespeare, his plays, retellings, why I love him so much. I'm probably also going to do one on adaptations at some point, so you've got a lot to look forward to. So starting with today's video, the reason why I wanted to start with this one was because I thought it was a really good introduction to let you guys know which plays I have read and which ones are my favourites all together. Thankfully, I planned to do a ranking video a couple of years ago, so I had already ranked some of the ones I've read, and I'd only read 4 extra since then, which made it a lot easier. Ranking them when you've read quite a few and it's been a while since you've read them, it's actually very difficult. And you will kind of, see that as I explain my ranking. I have got some really unpopular opinions. I think some of these are probably going to shock some people. So I'm ready to get into it. So obviously starting off with my least favourite, and number 17 is, and I don't think this is going to be a surprise to quite a few of you, is The Taming of the Shrew. I really didn't enjoy reading this. I want to also say now, this is my ranking of them from reading them, because my experience, and I will explain this when I explain some of my rankings, I know that I would enjoy them more seeing them performed than I do reading them, because you can tell that that's obviously they're written to be performed, they're not written to be read. So just bear that in mind. And I know a lot of people have said, depending on the adaptation you watch of this, you can get a lot of enjoyment out of it. However, like I say, the reading aspect of it, not enjoyable at all. We do not like misogynistic Shakespeare. It's just not something I live for, and this was my first kind of the first time I'd kind of properly seen that from him, and I didn't like it. I did not like it at all. Yeah, it basically does what it says on the tin. It's basically what he calls taming a shrew, and that is the entire storyline, and some of the things that are said about this woman are just horrific, and the fact that I think they get married at the end is just, no. This is just not what I like in a Shakespeare play. Next on this list is definitely a prime example of one that I know would be more enjoyable to see performed, but that is The Comedy of Errors. It just doesn't read particularly well, because obviously you can tell it's meant to be hilarious and funny with all these funny things that are going on, but you don't really get that when you're reading the play. But like I say, seeing it performed would be a totally different story, and that's basically all I've got to say about this one. It's very short. It just didn't do much for me. At number 15, and this is the one I am going to pray doesn't get me cancelled, because I know a lot of people will not like me for saying this, but at number 15 is Much Ado About Nothing. Obviously this is the one with Beatrice and Benedict, and I didn't like it. I was really bored. I was really bored. I didn't get the whole connection between them. I didn't get the witty funniness, and again, that was probably just because my understanding of reading it wasn't great. I definitely know seeing this one performed would be a completely different story. It would probably be in my top 5. I think I've only seen one adaptation of this, and it was when I was in high school, as part of the Shakespeare School Festival. Myself and 3 other schools performed in one evening, and one of the schools did Much Ado About Nothing, and I did enjoy that. But yeah, it's not one of my favourites, and I'm really sorry. But like I say, if you've got any recommendations of adaptations I should watch where I would enjoy this, please let me know so I can try and fix this terrible travesty that I know is being a Shakespeare fan, I should enjoy this one. At number 14 is Henry VI Part 1. So I've read, I think, all of the Henry VI. I think it's in 3 parts. This was my least favourite out of all of them. Because I read them in chronological order, as per what's in the list in these Penguin classics, I read this one last, which just made it very confusing. Obviously, because this is the beginning of the story, but supposedly he wrote this one after the other two. And like I say, the other two did different things. So one of them is sort of like the political intrigue. The other one is very much sort of like war heavy and action driven. And this one didn't really do either of those things. So like I say, I think because I got the follow-up of the story after, like, before reading this one, it didn't, like I say, it just didn't do much for me. But overall, I do tend to enjoy the histories, which was quite surprising for me. So enjoyed it, but not one of my favourites. Likewise, one that I was expecting to really enjoy that actually fell short for me was Richard III. So obviously I enjoyed this a little bit more than Henry VI Part 1. But I was, like I say, I was expecting something different from this. I was expecting the villain and sort of like, in a sort of funny way, him doing like murderous things and being the villain because he wants to be king, and him being sort of like treacherous, and, you know, conniving and coming up with these schemes for how he's going to become king. And actually, I feel like that happens in one of the other, in Henry VI Part 3, you get a bit more of that kind of Richard III villain in that play, and it doesn't really follow through in this one for me. Obviously, great first line, great first monologue. The monologues were wonderful. But I think going into this, I was expecting to see him as king, and that's not what this play is. It's him in the lead up to how he becomes king, and it's actually just, like I say, not that interesting for me. Again, one that probably would be wonderful to see performed, a very interesting and different experience of it, especially I think I can imagine certain people playing Richard III really well. So like I say, I might look into some adaptations for this one. But like I've said with the other histories, the next one on the list is Henry VI Part 2. So again, I did enjoy this one. This was the first one I read. So this is the first history I read, the first Henry VI play that I read. And like I said, I didn't know what to expect going into it, and I enjoyed it more than I thought that I would. I don't know if it's in this one where there's a really hilarious... No, I think it's in the next one. But again, this one was the one that had all of the subterfuge in it, and all of the sort of like plotting from different people. This is the one with Margaret in it. Yes, and you can tell what a powerful character Margaret is, and how she's like pulling all of the strings behind the scenes. So yeah, I did enjoy this one unexpectedly. So just for reference, I would like to say we're probably still in sort of like the 3-star category. This next one, despite where it is in my ranking, I'm going to explain. I have a really like love-hate relationship with this play. And that is King Lear, which is very surprising because I love the tragedies, and this is great. Like, the storyline of King Lear is great. It's absolutely chaotic, but my issue with it is that everything happens right at the end of the play. So you've got a lot sort of going on, and it's quite a long one, I think. You've got a lot going on leading up to it, and literally in the last like 2 pages, everybody dies. Which I know happens in a lot of the tragedies, but in this one I kind of feel like Shakespeare doesn't quite pull it off in the same way. And again, that being said, it contains one of my favourite characters of all time in Shakespeare, or probably my favourite character, and that's Cordelia. I will forever love Cordelia. She has been wronged in so many ways. And again, I feel like adaptation or performance of this would probably be in my top 3, but as a play to read, it's not one of my favourites. which, yeah, it's just a lot of mixed things going on, and it's very hard to explain that to people, especially, like I say, when it contains like one of my favourite characters, or my favourite Shakespeare character ever that I have read so far. Another disclaimer is I did study this one at sixth form, which is sort of like the highest I took sort of like English literature, and I think that kind of killed it for me quite early on, so that's probably why in terms of reading it, it doesn't rank very high, because it just brings back, you know, having to read it for school, which is never really fun. There are some others on this list that I have read for school that I've really enjoyed, so again, kind of confusing. So now I'd say we're kind of getting into the 4-star category. These are the ones that I have genuinely actually enjoyed. And the first of those is The Two Gentlemen of Verona. So this is the first in the list chronologically, and it's good. It's good. It's got all of the aspects in a Shakespeare play that you would expect and want. I do believe, is this a comedy? I think this is a comedy. It's got people pretending to be other people. It's got people getting mixed up for other people, it's got love interests and it all getting confused because of everything that's going on. I'm just going to read the synopsis because it basically explains everything that happens in it and why it's so great. So, leaving behind both home and his beloved, a young man travels to Milan to meet his closest friend. Once there, however, he falls in love with his friend's new sweetheart and resolves to seduce her. Love-crazed and desperate, he is soon moved to commit cynical acts of betrayal in one of Shakespeare's first plays, which explores how passion can prove more powerful than even the strongest loyalty. So yeah, it's got the friends, it's got the love aspect, it's got the mistaken identity, and it's just a fun time. I also think because it's quite a short one, it packs a punch and you don't really get bored. So again, I was surprised to have enjoyed this one so much. The next one on this list is Henry VI Part 3. So this is definitely the one out of all of the Henry VI I enjoyed the most. Again, this one's quite long, and this is the one where they overthrow the king, and it's very like violent, and there's lots happening, and there's war, and there's decapitation, and the queen is really angry, and I don't remember it step by step because they all kind of merge into each other, but I do remember, I think this is the one with the really long speech by someone that explains the whole War of the Roses situation in terms of the historical aspect in England, and how one person can think they're king and the other person can think they're king, and the lineage and whatever, and it's just this whole long speech, and then right at the bottom it says something about if that makes sense, and it's just the most hilarious thing ever. I remember reading it at work being like, this is why I love Shakespeare. He is great. I think after that one we're now getting into sort of the 4.5 going into 5-star. And the first of those would be Julius Caesar. Again, this is one that I studied in high school, but really enjoyed doing that. Again, this one is one that a lot of people say is a really good one to start with if you're a beginner into Shakespeare. I think because a lot of people know the story of Julius Caesar, makes it easier to follow. And again, I think I went into this one when I reread it after reading it years later after studying in school. I was expecting it to be really complicated and hard to follow, I think because it's a story of Rome. So I think I was kind of mixing together sort of like the histories and ancient Rome with Shakespeare, and in my head I was like, that's going to be so confusing, and it's actually the complete opposite of that. It's very, very easy to follow and understand, and it's just a fun time. I love the tragedies, I love the stabby death ones, and this one is very stabby death. So what's not to love? Now this next one I really, really enjoy. It's probably my second favourite comedy of the ones that I've read so far, and I don't think anything's going to like topple that from this list, because again it's just got a couple of themes that I really enjoy reading in the Shakespeare plays, but that is As You Like It. This one follows two cousins. So Rosalind is banished by her cruel uncle and travels secretly to the forest of Arden. So it's got a forest, it's got a banishment, it's got cousins, it's got the disguises in it. It's funny, it's got love stories. I think at the end lots of people get married at the same time. The funny bits are hilarious, but my favourite thing about this is that the epilogue, or the very last monologue of the play, is by Rosalind. And I think that was the first time I read a Shakespeare play and kind of thought, ooh, feminist. Especially because of what she says at the end is just really beautiful. I also like this one performed. I have seen this one performed at an open air performance in Stratford upon Avon, which was really cool, but I was very angry because it was a shorter version. I think they'd cut a couple of bits out, including the epilogue by Rosalind, so I kind of left a bit sort of like grumpy. I was like, it was really good, but from a feminist perspective, why would you cut that out? Anyway, I would definitely say if you've read A Midsummer Night's Dream and want to maybe explore a bit more of Shakespeare and don't know where to go next, then I would definitely pick up As You Like It, because I definitely think fans of A Midsummer Night's Dream would definitely enjoy this one. That's why I enjoyed it so much. So this next one on my list is a little bit like King Lear, but sort of like the backwards version of King Lear. It's one that I would normally expect to be in maybe my top 3, and it isn't because I don't like reading it. Seeing it performed is definitely in my top 3. It's probably my second favourite one to see performed, because I also performed it myself, because we did it in school. So the Shakespeare Schools Festival, we did Romeo and Juliet at school, and I loved it. I was Lady Capulet. It was just a great one. It's just got everything you want it to have when you're performing Shakespeare. So obviously it's a tragedy, one of the best tragedies. It's so good. It's got the love in it. It's got some really hilarious parts in it. But I don't like reading it because I think it's kind of choppy to read. And I think it can be a bit like that as well sometimes, depending on the adaptation. So I recently went to see the version of Romeo and Juliet at the Globe for my birthday in May, and it was really good. It was very long for something to watch at the Globe, because the seats are very uncomfortable. And I did kind of feel that in some aspects it was a bit choppy. But they did one thing very well that I had never noticed before. Because there was an interval, I noticed that the first half of the play is very Romeo driven. It's sort of like Romeo's perspective of what's going on. And then the second half of the play is Juliet's perspective. And I'd never thought about that before until I saw that adaptation. And that's why I love Shakespeare plays, because you can read it a billion times and get different things out of it each time. And it's the same with the adaptations. So I've seen this one twice and performed it, so I would count that as 3 times. And yes, obviously the Baz Luhrmann film, we love. Just so much to really like about this, but it's not one of my favourite ones to read. So we are now in my top 5. I think this is where we're in the 5-star aspect. So Romeo and Juliet for me is probably a 4.5, 4.75, but now we're in the 5 stars. But again, there's still a ranking, and it is quite definitive for me. But the first 5-star is Othello. Again, this was just very unexpected. It's a tragedy. We love the tragedies. 4 out of the 5 in my top 5 are tragedies. I did say I love the tragedies. I love the stabby ones. And this one does something different, I think, when it comes to the tragedies. So obviously it's, I think, more about obsession, more so than Romeo and Juliet. I think that's more sort of like a young love kind of thing. In this one, it's a grown man and his obsession over the fact that he thinks his wife or girlfriend, his wife is cheating on him with his friend, and he just becomes completely obsessed with this idea, even though she is not cheating on him, and it literally drives him mad. It drives him to murder, basically. And the concept of that and how that is portrayed in this is it's just done so well. I think what I loved most about this was the female perspective, but rather than portraying the female perspective in this as being unloyal and lying and that kind of thing, it's the complete opposite of that. It shows how strong and balanced and strong-minded women are, but rather than that coming from Othello's wife Desdemona, it comes from her friend Emilia. Emilia's character in this is really... It's been a long time since I've read this, so it's really hard to explain, but I know that there's a couple of people who would agree with me on that. I think she's the one that tries to make Othello see sense, but the way that she does it is amazing. But obviously, I'm not going to say anything else. It's a tragedy for a reason, and it is incredibly tragic, this one. And I've seen an adaptation of this one, not in person. I watched one on the television. I think it was a National Theatre one with, I've forgotten his name, a wonderful actor playing Othello, and it was amazing, to the point where I wish that I'd seen it live. If I can, I'll try and link that in the description box. Yes, a great Shakespeare play. So the next one on my list is one that made my favourites very quickly more recently. As soon as while I was reading it, I knew it was going to be in my top 5, and I was not expecting that. So it was really exciting for me to be, doing the plays in chronological order, reaching this one and reading it and being like, wow, I can't believe I A, didn't know about this one, and B, I cannot believe how amazing this is. It's very, 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 very dark, and I think that's why I enjoyed it so much. Well, that is why I enjoyed it so much. And that is Titus Andronicus. It is known as Shakespeare's most violent play for a reason. Again, from the feminist perspective, this one leaves you screaming. And I was reading this while The Tortured Poets Department by Taylor Swift was released, and I was listening to Who's Afraid of Little Old Me, and I'm sorry, but in my opinion, it's about Lavinia. It is about Lavinia, and I will never unsee that. If you want to not do a feminine rage after reading this, listen to that song and just imagine it's Lavinia, and it will just make you feel better. I think that's what got me through this, because otherwise I think this would have been one that I threw across the room. I was reading it at work and I was literally sat there like gobsmacked. I had to put it down and my mouth was just like, while I was reading it. I don't know if I would be able to go and see this one performed. I think I would really struggle. I would cry a lot. I would come out and just be a mess. I think it would be maybe a step too far for me. I'm not sure. But despite it being very dramatic and tragic and violent and awful, I really enjoyed it. It was an immediate 5 stars for me. Yes, and one that if you're into the tragedies and you want something again that you haven't read before, I would recommend this one. Again, it's really easy to follow. The language is very easy to understand, and the story just packs an absolute gut punch. Now we're in the top 3. So in third place is Macbeth. This was the very first Shakespeare play I studied at school, or the first time Shakespeare, I guess, had been introduced to me in year 6, so primary school. I do believe they do still teach this one in school, and then we did it again in high school, so I did my coursework on Macbeth. And that's probably why I love it so much. Another reason why I think I love it so much is because obviously it's known as the Scottish play. My mum is Scottish, so she is well versed in this one and would like recite bits to me when she knew that I was studying it, and that just made it so much better. It's got everything that you would want in a Shakespeare play. The witches are great. The way it's written is very lyrical, so that's why I enjoy reading this one. Beautifully lyrical. It's just Lady Macbeth. It's got kings, it's got obviously treachery, it's got betrayal. Oh, it's just got everything that you want in it. It's got prophecies, misread prophecies. I guess what the most sort of satisfying thing about this, there's some resolution or karma at the end of the play that makes you feel a bit more satisfied, like they get their comeuppance, and that's very rare, I feel, in the tragedies. Yes, it's just so great. It's just so witchy and magical and wonderful and tragic and great. So I will never not love this one. I think this will probably be top three. My top three I don't think are going to change ever in my life, and that makes me very, very happy. At number 2, I have given this play to a friend. I lent it to her for a special occasion, but that is obviously A Midsummer Night's Dream. I love this one. So this one and my top Shakespeare play are tied, but I think because I love the tragedies so much, that's why what's number 1 is number 1. But again, this one is just written so beautifully. It's hilarious. It's so unique in what it does. Again, it's got the magic aspect. It's set in the woods. You've got potions. You've got love. You've got women. I've completely forgotten her name. Helena, who is just so done with love, and that's hilarious. You've got people just like turning into donkeys. Oh, it's great. You've got the play within a play aspect going on. My top 2 have got the play within a play going on, so that might give you a hint as to what's number 1. Yeah, there's not a single thing in this play that I don't like. It's perfect from start to finish. I don't get bored at any point. I've seen this one performed twice as well, and again, in terms of a performance side of things, again, it's also probably 2, or maybe my favourite one to see performed, because it's just hilarious, and I always leave with like pains in my belly from laughing so much. It's that great. Like I say, the top 3 are not going to change, and I'm very happy with my top 3, and this one will always have a special place in my heart. I think it was the first Shakespeare play I ever read that wasn't for school, and that's basically what made me fall in love with Shakespeare again. Oh, just so great. And in spot number 1, and it will always be in spot number 1 because I am just that basic, and I couldn't believe after I read this, I was like, hands down, the best Shakespeare play ever. That's never going to change. I can see why it's a lot of people's favourites. Is Hamlet. Like, it's Hamlet. It's always going to be Hamlet. It's Hamlet. Obviously, I think Hamlet is his longest play, but for this one it really works. It's a tragedy, and again, it's just the whole storyline from start to finish and how everything happens and falls into place is just excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So you have got, obviously, a young prince whose father has just died. Then he finds out his mother is marrying his uncle, and his uncle becomes the new king. He's already kind of... the grief in this play, I think, is always not underplayed, but not talked about enough, and I think that's why Hamlet descends into sort of like madness so quickly. It's grief. He is grieving for his father, and then his life is basically falling apart, and people are trying to tell him to just get over it, and like, what's wrong with you? It's just obviously you've got Ophelia, who is madly in love with him, but obviously Hamlet is heavily depressed and grieving and cannot love at all, so she is being rejected by him, but you can feel that hurt from her and understanding from both sides. Obviously finding out your mother is marrying your uncle, and then unpicking the fact that your uncle killed your father to be king. And I think the reason why this is so great is because it's believable. This has probably happened, probably still happens today. It feels so real. It doesn't feel like a lot of his other Shakespeare plays where there's like funny bits and it takes you out of it, or it's so dramatic and tragic that it doesn't feel real. This one could be a true story that actually happened, and that is crazy. Obviously his friends, whose long names I always forget, but his 2 friends who bring the comedy into it are hilarious. The whole Yorick part, there's just like, and then obviously the ending. It's just got one of the best endings to a play ever, and I feel incredibly, incredibly lucky because I have seen this performed, and it was in Windsor, the Windsor Royal, with Ian McKellen playing Hamlet. Like, I will never get over that. I will never ever get over that. And despite all the critics saying he was too old to play Hamlet, he was running around that stage as though he was like 15, 16. And it was amazing, and I cried, and I'm still not over that. Probably one of the best things to ever have happened in my life. So yes, I adore this play very, very much, and it will always be my favourite Shakespeare play. Yes. So that is my current ranking of the 17 Shakespeare plays I have read so far. I have very much enjoyed standing here just talking about how much I love Shakespeare. It's just literally making me so happy. Please let me know in the comments which ones you've read and which one is your favourite. I do like it when it's a different one and it's not Hamlet. Don't be basic like me, pick something else. And like I say, also feel free to leave me some recommendations for adaptations to watch, be it films, be it National Theatre Productions that they sometimes show on BBC iPlayer. I know you can also get a subscription for the National Theatre where you can watch a lot of old performances, and I have been thinking about doing that for quite a while now, so it could be really interesting if there's a few on there that I can watch, because more Shakespeare in my life just will always make me happy. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you soon in my next one. Bye!